Tesla shareholders approving Elon Musk $1 trillion pay package. So that is your headline. Listen, we had spoken to Tesla financial analysts, Tesla shareholders leading up to this, and their bet had been that they would indeed pass this package. Remember, Musk, like the last pay package, would have to hit these performance metrics, right? Among them, Tesla would have to deliver 20 million Teslas. It would have to deploy 1 million robo-taxis. It would have to deploy 1 million robots. And by the way, hit $400 billion of adjusted EBITDA over 4 separate quarters.
Tesla shareholders approving CEO Elon Musk's $1 trillion pay package. The compensation agreement getting 75% support among voting shares when it was announced at the company's annual shareholder meeting. Senior Autos reporter Pras Subramanian joins me now with the top takeaways from that meeting. So Pras, he got the vote. Now he's got a lot of jobs to do.
Yeah, more than just one, right? So we saw the vote. They went through all the different proposals, and at the end of the meeting, they announced that Musk won the approval for his $1 trillion pay package by over a 75% vote. So that's good to see. Now, I believe Musk was able to vote his own shares in this, so that's why able to get past that 75%, because before that, the other proposals last year and the year before were below 75%. Anyway, with regards to that pay package being approved, that's great news, but then he also has to hit all those different tranches, all is really high-end, really scaling up style type of milestones, like, for instance, 20 million cars, all the robots, right? A big EBITDA goals, right? But a few things that Musk sort of mentioned during his Q&A after is that a few interesting things. First of all, they're going to scale up Optimus assembly at both Giga Austin and also Fremont first, then Giga Austin later. He also mentioned that the Cybercab is going to come out for April 2026 production, which is a nice thing to hear, an actual target date there for production of that car. We've seen a couple of them here and there. They look a little bit different than the car they revealed back in October of last year, but still more the same. No pedals, no steering wheels. We'll see about that. Also, 3 of the board directors were nominated too. And then one nomination to the board, but then also XAI. Tesla said that shareholders approved the XAI investment, but there was a bunch of abstaining votes, so they want to reevaluate that in the future.
Well, and one other thing, one of the other items that was voted upon was whether Tesla should invest in XAI. That is something that Musk himself has sort of pushed for, but then also said the shareholders should vote. And it sounds like that shareholders did approve that, but the board is not sure if they want to do it. What do we know about that?
Yeah. So basically, essentially the shareholders did approve it by a majority vote, but there were a number of abstaining votes. So the board says they're going to evaluate that decision. Now, some commentators think that means that the board was sort of lukewarm on it, and they still kind of want to put that in the back burner and think about that later, because of the fact that, let's be honest, both Tesla and XAI are sort of doing similar things in the world of AI, right? They're both working on AGI. They're working on potentially putting that into physical objects, right? So that's sort of maybe why the board is a little hesitant right now. They want to get more information, see if that makes sense. Musk has said that it does make sense, not just an investment, not a merger, just an investment makes sense.
Well, Elon Musk spoke about Tesla's path forward at the company's annual shareholder meeting as well, focusing on the shift to robotics. He said the robots will be bigger than the company's car business, and he made claims about what they will be able to accomplish.
People often talk about eliminating poverty, giving everyone amazing medical care. Well, there's actually only one way to do that, and that's with the Optimus robot. With humanoid robots, you can actually give everyone amazing medical care.
Musk didn't give a date for hitting those goals and talking about all that. Joining me now is Brett Winton, ARK Invest chief futurist, who spends a lot of time thinking about these future sort of possibilities. Brett, it's great to have you here. Of course, ARK is an investor in Tesla, and you guys were in favor of this pay package for Elon Musk. What do you think now does this unlock? Now that this hurdle is sort of behind the company, what does this mean for Tesla and the next step forward?
I think it's great for Tesla. I think it really opens up the option value into the humanoid robot opportunity. And, he mentioned investing in their own single source fab. So it allows him to really push the company towards the future. Without Elon's leadership, I think it would be very tempting for shareholders to try to extract the rents off the robotaxi business without reinvesting. And ultimately, we think the humanoid robot opportunity is an order of magnitude larger than robotaxi. And so I think it's worth the investment it will take. And it'll take a lot of investment. I think there's going to be a lot of money that pushes into developing out the humanoid program. And I think he's the right person to lead that transition.
I'm going to focus on one word you said, which is ultimately. Because as we know, Tesla and Elon Musk specifically have a history of these big ambitious goals, many of which he meets eventually or ultimately, but he tends to push back that timeline quite a bit. So I'm curious how you're thinking about these various possibilities, whether it be Optimus or the robotaxi, and how soon this stuff is actually going to be material for the company.
Well, robotaxi is, I've ridden in one in Austin. I drive around in FSD every day. It's both in real time, a marvelous, remarkable, magical product. And we think it's going to produce marvelous, magical cash flow for the company in the immediate term, within the next year or so. Once they activate a fleet of robotaxis in the US, we think they're going to enjoy a natural monopoly position in providing inexpensive point-to-point mobility across multiple cities and scaling exponentially. And so it really will become, for many people, the default mode by which they get from place to place. And the cash flow it'll kick off, we measure in the perspective hundreds of billions of dollars. So a great return for shareholders. Now they're going to have to take that and invest in a lot of AI compute and a lot of hardware innovation in order to make humanoid robots work. And like you say, it's yes, they're going to try to produce 1 million robots in his pay package by the end of 2030. I think that's going to be a hard and steep climb to get there. Ultimately, in the 2029 to 2030 timeframe, we do think these products will commercialize in a generalizable, broad way, and that it'll be amazing for humanity and amazing for Tesla. And I don't underestimate the challenge that they're undertaking in going after the opportunity.
I want to come back to this, but I want to first ask about something you said, which is the robotaxi being a monopolistic opportunity. And I'm surprised to hear you say that, considering not only do they have a competitor, they're not the first one on the roads, right? I'm talking about Waymo, of course. Why do you think that Tesla's going to be so dominant when Waymo beat them to market and is already out there in multiple cities?
Sure, and I've ridden in Waymos, and they are also amazing, magical products. The problem is their cost basis. The cost that they can profitably provide that service seems to be on the order of $3 a mile. And so it's cost competitive with Uber, and it's a great product. And they have around 2,000 vehicles in the US as a whole. Tesla produces 2,000 vehicles out of its Austin factory before lunch every day. And so once they're able to software deliver an update that allows those to operate as robotaxis, they'll have an extreme scale advantage. And then next year, they're going to begin producing the Cybercab, which will give them a cost per mile advantage. So they'll be able to offer people an amazing price and an amazing service. The Waymo is great. I still don't rely on it 100% of the time or even 50% of the time because there's only a few of them. And so often wait times are too long. And people really want a default that they go to for all of their transportation needs. That's why Uber has worked over time. And we think Tesla will be in an actually even more advantaged position once they scale robotaxi.
Brett, when we talk about the various milestones that Musk has to hit in order to get, there are these 12 tranches of this pay package, so it's not just in one shot. It's going to take a while. He has to hit a bunch of different goals. If he doesn't, given the timeline challenges he's had in the past, what is the risk that he doesn't hit the goal on time, doesn't get that tranche of the pay package, and sort of loses interest, right? Which has been a challenge with him in the past and was the whole reason, or not the whole reason, but a reason that folks voted on this pay package in the first place. How much of a risk do you view that?
No, I think he's, maniacally dedicated to Tesla, and he has been, and he will continue to do so. I think that the value of the pay package is to give him, it's not the money that I think he's interested in, or that we're even interested in necessarily giving him. It's the control. It's If he can deliver on even a subset of these milestones, it would be really unprecedented in terms of shareholder return in history. And it would give him license to continue to push the company forward into the future. So even if they don't deliver on all of them, and many of them we think are quite achievable within our expectations for the company, it will give him additional control of the company to make sure that it is still at the leading edge of innovation, even as it scales and becomes remarkably cash flow generative. The danger of having a company that delivers a service that everybody uses and that kicks off a lot of cash is it's easy for that company and its management team to really, and its shareholders, frankly, to get kind of dumb, fat, and lazy, where they're like, oh, this cash flow is nice. I'm satisfied to not deliver a better, more compelling experience to my end customers because I can just dominate this particular subsegment of the value chain. Well, we don't think that that is the best future for Tesla, and nor does Elon Musk, and that's why we're excited to have him, continuing to push the company forward.
Brett, I want to switch gears and ask you about crypto, because that's something that ARK has been all in on in a number of different ways, including introducing your own crypto-related products. But I know that Cathie Wood, of course, who heads up ARK Invest, recently talked about a bit of a lightening up on your Bitcoin position because of the changes that stablecoin has wrought in the market. What can you tell us about the thinking behind that and what that means for your investments?
Yeah, you can think of there being a cryptocurrency revolution, which is really alternative monies that allow people, particularly in emerging markets, to get access to kind of more stable currencies than they have before. And then a smart contracting revolution, which is really transforming the financial ecosystem. And smart contracting is catalyzed and superpowered by stablecoins. Stablecoins also offer people in emerging markets access to the dollar that they previously didn't have. And so part of the promise of Bitcoin is if you have a currency that is shakier and more inflation prone, that's being mismanaged, you can get out of it into Bitcoin. Well, now you can also get out of it into a stable coin. So stable coins, dollar denominated, are insurance packages against your existing currency. Well, Bitcoin is basically an insurance against the dollar. So we think Bitcoin will still play a super meaningful role in people's asset allocations. In fact, if you look at what's happened to gold, just as a digital gold, you have to kind of underwrite a better return for Bitcoin just because it's lagged relative to gold to date. And we think there should be a catch up at some point. And I think that you can't deny that kind of the flood of synthetic dollars into markets is allowing people to find alternative mechanisms to protect themselves against mismanagement of their local currencies. And
just very quickly, Brett, in the short term, what do you think the sort of near-term bottom for Bitcoin could be? Yeah, it's a tricky question, right? I mean, you can look at the technicals and you can say this $100,000 level is important. And then there's another a little below here in the kind of like 95-ish range. We don't look at things over the short term for a reason. I think it's very hard to call the latest market mania. Over 5 years, we think that public blockchains, and Bitcoin in particular, are amazing exposures because they are a better money. And they're a better mechanism by which to store and transmit value, across all of our strategies, across our venture strategy, across our public equities. Right. We look at 5 years and we have 5-year price targets for a reason. So you can't come back to me and complain about what it's doing next week.
Well, with over 75% approval from Tesla shareholders, CEO Elon Musk's new pay package gets the green light. Package could reach $1 trillion in overall compensation for Musk, but not without some lofty milestones that must be reached before receiving that full award. Yet Musk seeing even bigger ambitions ahead for the company.
Even when we extrapolate the best case scenario for chip production from our suppliers, it's still not enough. So I think we may have to do a Tesla terafab. So it's like Giga, but way bigger. I can't see any other way to get to the volume of chips that we're looking for. So I think we're probably going to have to build a gigantic chip fab.
Well, here with more on the next chapter for Tesla is Gautam Mukunda, Yale School of Management, Lecturer of Management Practice. Gautam, always good to see you, my friend. So Tesla, all right, they approved the pay package. These are some big milestones Musk would need to hit. I think it's just worth taking a step here and repeating them. Tesla has to deliver 20 million Teslas. Now that actually sounds like the relatively easy part. Deploy 1 million robo-taxis, deploy 1 million robots, has to hit 400 billion of adjusted EBITDA over 4 separate quarters. I guess stop right there, Gautam. Do you think, would you place your bet Musk will actually hit these milestones and get that payday?
No, I would not. Just because if you look at Tesla, the underlying fundamentals are they haven't had a successful major product launch, right? Like they have not had a new car come out that has done well in the market in 5 years, and they don't appear to have any prospects of one coming soon. And then that's even setting aside the problem of that with automated taxis, where again, they are not the technology leader, or autonomous robots, where they are not the technology leader. The evidence that Tesla is going to dominate these industries is that Elon Musk says they will. That's it. So no, I wouldn't take that bet.
This pay package did pass, though, Gautam, with 75% of support among voting shares. What did you make of that? Were you surprised by that, Gautam?
No, not at all. If you are invested in Tesla right now, it's because you believe that essentially that Elon Musk has magical powers. That the fact that Elon Musk has this track record of doing extraordinary things, and that takes nothing away from the scale of his achievements in, pushing electric cars forward by a generation, or basically inventing the modern commercial space industry with SpaceX. It doesn't take anything away from the scale of his achievements to say that that doesn't mean he can do it again, right? It doesn't mean that there's not an infinite chain of miracles here. But that's how Tesla's being valued. So if you are invested in Tesla right now, you believe that he can do it again. And if you believe that he can do it again, if you believe he has magic powers, well, then you should vote yes, because then it makes sense.
Let me ask you, Gautam, if you were in charge of the pay package, I'm just curious, what's the pay package Gautam would have designed?
I would have said, Elon, you already own about 15% of Tesla. If you do all of this stuff, you will be a trillionaire anyways, right? So it's really clear. This pay package doesn't give him $1 trillion. It gives him a second $1 trillion, right? That's what it gives him. So he would have one already. I don't actually know what you can buy with $2 trillion that you can't buy with $1 trillion. So the pay package I would have given him is I would have said, hey, Elon, if you succeed with Tesla, you're going to be a trillionaire. That seems like a great incentive for you. And what we really need to do is manage the fact that take all of the skills and the assets that allowed you to do what you've done in the past and kind of harness them, because what you've done in the last few years doesn't seem like the same Elon Musk. We've noticed some real deteriorations in your behavior, and we're going to design a pay package to see if we can get that under control.
Gautam, there was another piece of this shareholder meeting which I thought was really interesting, and I want to get your take on it, your interpretation. That shareholders voted in favor of Tesla investing in Musk's AI startup, XAI, but reports noting there were many abstentions there. And I thought that was sort of curious, and I wonder what that might suggest to you or indicate to you.
So it is really strange, and I think it's essentially some shareholders saying that, this is a bridge too far. This is, like we're piling violations of corporate governance on top of violations of corporate governance, right? I'm just imagining some colleague of mine who teaches board behavior coming in with a Tesla case, just putting it in front of the students and then putting his head in his hands and saying, for the love of God, don't do any of this, right? And I think that maybe it's shareholders saying we want to register our disapproval of this remarkable thing, but we don't actually want to go as far as voting against you because we're worried about what Musk might react, how Musk might react, and we're hoping that this is the kind of signal he might pick up on.
What do you think if shareholders hadn't voted for this? What could the fallout actually have looked like, Gautam?
So this is where the whole thing falls apart to me, right? So Elon Musk is the he's this enormous shareholder of Tesla. The valuation of Tesla is fundamentally dependent upon Elon Musk, right? Like we have to invent whole new words for key man risk to describe Elon Musk's importance to Tesla. If he were to leave, as he, supposedly was threatening to do if he didn't get this pay package, the person who would be most hurt is Elon Musk, right? So the threat of his departure it doesn't hold together. What would he do if he left and he's suddenly not the richest man in the world? Probably wouldn't even be close to that after that. I just don't see that as a plausible thing. And that's where the board seems to have decided that its job as the board of directors is to nod like a bobblehead and give Elon whatever he asks for. And that is not the job of a competent board.
Gautam, I will end here. Fun piece from my friend Al Root over at Barron's. I would love your take on this. And he was kind of talking how Tesla is rapidly becoming the Berkshire of the tech sector. Talking about how its annual meeting is starting to kind of feel like the Berkshire annual gathering. Sort of, pilgrimage of the faithful, Gautam, right? Kind of fun, upbeat. So does that mean, Al asks, Musk is the new Buffett? And Al pointing out some similarities and differences. I want your take. He says, well, neither takes much in the way of traditional annual compensation, fair enough. Though he also notes Berkshire doesn't award giant stock-based pay packages, of course. Just curious to end there on the Gautam take.
So, I mean, Buffett was the Oracle of Omaha because he had built over this long career this sort of reputation where people would follow whatever he said. And, Musk has done amazing things. I would never say that. So if you want to take everything that he says very seriously because of that, I would do that. But the Musk we're getting today is just not the Elon Musk who, I really admired for what he'd done at SpaceX and Tesla. He's just a different guy, and we can speculate about why that is, but it's very real. And so I get the oracular comparison and the cult of personality comparison, but cults of personality don't usually end well for the people in the cult. I would be a little worried about this one too.
Gautam, great as always to have you on the show. Enjoy the weekend.
You too.